Hi. My name is Phil Demers, and I'm not like you. I don't have a PhD, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a public speaker, I'm not a politician, I'm not a lawyer, definitely not an academic. But I'm a fighter. And on account of being an effective fighter, a dangerous fighter, because of what I know, Marineland has flipped my life upside down for the past 6 years. I've been threatened with violence. I've been stalked. They sent some toughs to my house to send a message. They intimidated my family and my girlfriend. Then they sued me for $1.5 million for plotting to steal a walrus.
Quite an honor, Phil.
Yeah.
I'd like to just throw in a quick disclaimer, if I may. I'm, on account of not being a public speaker, I prefer to keep things a little more casual. So, and because more often than not my mind tends to focus on minute details, try to bear in mind I've been defending the truth for a long time. I'm always defensive. So on account of that, if you feel you need any type of clarity, by all means, please raise your hand. I need you guys to feel me, so. I too often feel very alone. I try to stress to people that the journey that I personally have gone through started with me and myself, curled up in a dark room, facing the impossible. The prospect of which, so impossible, that all I knew is that I would have to put faith in that, in throwing myself and giving myself wholly away for the cause of fighting for these animals, that I allowed the universe to catch me, and it always has. I have faith in the process now, that despite all odds against me, we continue to venture in far more, and most recently, interesting places. And for me personally, the solo journey always remains. When I go to bed at night, I'm alone and I'm deep. It's a very lonely place. But if you don't mind, I'm going to take a moment just to appreciate this right here. Because now I find myself in front of other dangerous people. You've heard throughout this event people speaking of whales. This is a whale conference. We refer to whales as individuals. We focus on their individuality. As we speak, given the new void, the new emergence of questions with what becomes of Marineland, my thoughts are with those individuals, thousands of them. Bears, deers, nearly 60 belugas, 5 bottlenose dolphins, dozens of seals and sea lions, 4 walruses, one of which I've become a surrogate mother to. I try to explain to people the anomaly of the relationship I have with Smooshi, It's impossible to describe without tapping into that of a mother's relationship to a child. I'm very protective of her. Earlier it was noted in one of in the clip there that I'd said, I think about Smooshi every moment. That was 2012. That hasn't changed. And nor has my dream to get her out of there.
Woo!
What I face now is a different void. My job in coming out against Marineland was largely done easy by Marineland. My job was to shine a light on them, shine a light on their abuses, shine a light on their cruel practices. That was easy. They made that easy. But now with my greatest threat being the personal vendetta that the owner of Marineland now being gone, unbeknownst to me, because it's only just happened recently, my entire world has changed. Because now we find ourselves in the void of questions of what becomes. And I see people here, and you are all very impassioned, and I don't doubt for a second that we will see whales freed into oceans. But what becomes of those individuals that don't get the attentions that whales, dolphins, and porpoises get, such as our sea lions, seals, and walrus friends? They're individuals too. If you haven't noticed yet, and I urge you to look, the industry is undergoing a drastic change. Whale captivity is toxic. They have to get away from that brand. SeaWorld, the Vancouver Aquarium, and Marineland, if you haven't noticed yet, sort of curtailed their advertising of the whale captivity. Marineland's commercials do not show Kiska anymore. They're going after walruses, babies. Anyone who's been doing this long enough will know the telltale signs of what's to be. And this is what brings me to the next most important thing, I believe, which will be necessary. And I don't think time's on our side. I think we need to do this as quickly as possible. But I think we need to address that in the coming years we're going to have another big problem. And that's going to be an abundance of captive walruses that will need a home. They have similar interests, needs, intelligence, emotional intelligence, emotion, as whales. They are individuals too. The irony of having been sued for plotting to steal a walrus is that since that moment, which by the way I never did, well, besides up in here, is that now that's precisely what I'm going to try to do. But wait, because I can't do it alone. No one else here has been discussing walrus sanctuaries. We're talking whale sanctuaries. But what can't be ignored in the needs of whales is that of an absolute, honest replication of just the most dignified life. Their ability to, as the SeaWorld trainers most eloquently put it, feel the rhythms of the sea. These are important things. Humbly, I believe such a place could also benefit, the whales included, of course, in having other species there as well. Which brings me to this, a challenge. I put my faith in the impossible being possible 6 years ago, and I'm standing before you still with a loud, proud voice. But I can't build a sanctuary. I need scientists, architects, walrus professionals, pinniped professionals, and that's you. And so, before I start answering questions and finish, I propose this challenge. Can we do it? This is the room. This is where the think tank begins, because in 10 years we'll know it's already too late. We've run out of time for some. Let's not do that. Let's get our minds rolling now. Let's get the ball rolling now. We're gonna free whales. We gotta free walruses and seals and sea lions as well. Questions? This is my favorite part, by the way. This is where I'm most comfortable. So let's engage. Let's talk. Yes, please. So I've been asked how Smooshi is. I was only recently given a photo of her, and she's still alive. And that's a big deal, because I go long voids without knowing. And don't think for a second that there isn't the possibility of some plan, malicious plan, to have her shipped out in secrecy. It weighs on me every minute of every day. So I appreciate those who go into the park and get information for me against great risk. Yes, please.
Do you have any idea what's going to happen, or any rumors what's going to happen in Marineland now that he's gone?
Thank you for asking. I personally see 3 scenarios. Number one, well, not number one. It's my belief that the phone's been ringing off the hook. I don't think the motivation to keep another man's vision is there anymore. I don't believe in its current state Marineland is going to continue. In fact, given the most recent flood of incessant threats I've received from Marineland's lawyers, who, by the way, will listen to every word that I'm saying right now.
They're probably here.
I see 3 scenarios: interest in the land, interest in the animals, or interest in the land and animals. But you notice that 66% of that means getting rid of the animals? So time is not on our side, and we know the government isn't on our side, and we know the OSPCA isn't on our side, and in many ways the courts aren't on our side. So when I refer to our being the most dangerous people in this industry, that's a fact. It is us that have the power. We're the ones that have to illuminate the minds of everyone else out there to convince them that impossible is nothing. Lori, I don't doubt for a moment that you thought a whale sanctuary at some point would be almost impossible. I don't doubt that throughout your journey you start to realize now that it is becoming real.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen.
What a feeling. I want to feel that.
Pinniped Project.
And I do.
Pinniped Project.
You will.
Laura, you said in life there is hope, or in hope there is life. What did you say this morning while I was hiding from you upstairs so as to not...
I didn't even know you were there.
I know, I apologize. I wish it wasn't the case, but...
I said that wherever there is life, there is hope.
And that's exactly
And
it.
for all the animals in captivity, as long as they are alive, there's a chance that their
That's
life
right.
can get better.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Wherever there is life, there is hope. I'm still alive. Smooshi's still alive.
Still alive.
Yeah.
And I'd like to say, being from San Francisco, that Harvey Milk said, and hope will never be silent.
I'm still standing here. I am proof, case in point. I should have been crushed a long time ago. I don't know how I'm still here. My head spins every single day. My heart's upside down. It's often in the pit of my stomach. Sometimes I wonder if I'll wake up and find it in the toilet in the morning. Yes?
Phil, I just want to, I want to make a pitch to everyone that this is about changing our relationship to all other animals.
Yes.
It's not about beluga whales or orcas or walruses or aardvarks or elephants. It is about making amends for what we've done to the other animals. And one way that we can do that is through creating sanctuaries, as there are for elephants and primates, etc. If we band together as a sanctuary community,
Sanctuary community, that is music to my ears.
you know, not just walruses, elephants,
Not
chimpanzees,
species.
but a sanctuary
Everything.
movement.
Yes.
There is a tremendous amount of power in that. So, you know, I think that we need to band with other sanctuary advocates and people who run sanctuaries. They know how to do it. We have a bunch of them on our team.
You are one.
So I'm saying, you're not alone. There is a whole community out there that understand that sanctuary is the answer for these animals.
They are the future.
And we have to work together.
Sanctuaries are
Let's do
most
it.
definitely the future.
Let's do
Yes.
So I know a lawyer died a couple weeks ago, however long ago, and I believe it was last week, their lawyers started harassing you about a Twitter comment or whatever.
Yeah.
Where are these guys coming from? The guy's dead.
That's what's most curious about that. I most recently was threatened again, and bear in mind, I get this a lot. It's never easy, but you know, I know how effective it is to sort of piss off, to get under the skin of people that should otherwise have no invested stake whatsoever in lawsuits, especially lawyers. And Marineland's lawyer has personally, in fact, up until last week, threatened to sue me personally because he doesn't like the things I say. And now that the owner's gone, he feels that strange reason to pursue me, but I'm still trying to figure that out, as you can imagine. Yes?
Curious where you think a sanctuary would go. And just on Laurie's point too, in Canada, on Vancouver Island, there's a great aquarium doing open release with their octopus and other fish species. And they're holding a conference coming up with worldwide aquariums that do this type of release. So it is happening in other parts of aquaculture.
Yeah.
And octopus are well known to be intelligent. And I'm curious where you would think a good walrus sanctuary is. That's a great idea.
So because I'm not an expert and I don't know their specific needs, I can address that question with my experience. And in my experience, anywhere is better than Marineland. I don't say this for immediate applause. I don't say this to get a rise. I say this because I'm not lying. I am standing currently at the water level of where Marineland's walruses live. I'm looking up at the very same ceiling. No natural sunlight, no fresh air. I'm now touching this wall. I'm now touching this wall. I'm now touching this wall. This is the extent of their pool. I've now elevated myself up on their deck, and this is as large as they are in the circumference of their cage. That's it. She'd be better off in my bathtub. She'd be happier. Yes, sir.
So since you've left, have any trainers or employees that remain either, I mean, obviously you probably can't give names, but reached out or given their views, either supporting why they stay or supporting you in leaving?
And so what becomes very complicated with how litigious Marineland and specifically former owner John Holder were, he ensured that all current, even past employees signed non-disclosure agreements. In the training of new hirees, they actually are presented with a video where they see me in all of my scary, dangerous self, and with very specific instructions on how to deal with if you see me. So they've instilled a matter of fear. What you got to bear in mind is what Marineland likes to do is they like to hire impressionable young people such as myself when I was a 22-year-old kid, and they, you become a frontline worker, and you are in a club that is very, it's small, and you hold the secrets to your company. And in light of that, when you're a young person, it sort of gives you the illusion of being special somehow. And so you protect that, you protect your employer. Cognitive dissonance, I mean, in all sense, Marineland preys on young people. And I understand better now why that is. Yes.
marine mammals from being shipped outside of Canada? Do you have any idea where they go or not?
So Bill S-203, which its intention was to limit exactly that, the import, export, and keeping of captive whales, dolphins, and porpoises, is currently beached in the Senate very strategically by sponsors Marineland and Vancouver through some key players. Now that is a law that by all means should have been passed a long time ago. If I'm not mistaken, and if Diane's here, maybe you can offer some clarity, I think that that's the longest bill that's been debated in 20 plus years, 25 years. It's no mistake. If I were to stand before you and give you the details of the corruption, sort of the red pill I've had to take in learning what, or who the power players, or who are the people that actually do stuff, or my belief, back when I was a naive person who thought that in seeking help that I would be actually helping the animals, we'd be up here for hours and days. As far as corruption goes, Marineland has been transparently abusive, and there's been a lot of government bodies that have been totally complicit. We're up against a real powerful entity here. They received a designation of at risk, and on account of that, now the states can't import them or their captive import calves. So the market to sell to the United States is gone. China. Right now, we're at a point where we have more questions than answers. We just know that logistically there's going to be some complications, but it doesn't change the fact that they still can be sent somewhere, and that somewhere isn't a sanctuary currently. So, and, we are up against some timing issues, of course. Throughout this entire process, I was always in a race, and I assumed it was keeping Smooshi alive until after the owner died. Well, once we crossed that threshold, it occurred to me that I've now ventured into more scarier waters, because with him alive, I knew where Smooshi, I knew where the other whales would be. With him gone, we don't know.
We do one more question, Phil, and then will you tell the people, will you be around to answer?
Oh, I'm happy to speak with everyone outside in the lobby, wherever it be most appropriate. So last question, we'll go over here.
This is about the belugas. Do you know how they ended up with all those belugas?
Precisely.
It seems like everyone else tries to breed belugas and they just die, but somehow Marineland ended up with 50.
Marineland en masse imported beluga whales year after year after year from Russia.
So they're being imported.
Yes, and because Marineland reports to no one to respond to death, in fact, just recently, Carly, unless you know something I don't, it was 5 belugas born in 8 days with possibly more.
Yeah.
So, which estimates their beluga count at about 58. Prior to that, call it 55, or 53 rather, with, shy of the 5 that were born today. But the problem I have with that is every year, Marineland breeds 5 to 6 babies, and yet they always have 53 whales. The math doesn't add up, and I think we know why.
So you think a lot of the whales that are still on the record as being there are dead?
I think I know half the babies die. But the 50-yard line die. And then, the percentages of when an animal is susceptible to dying, especially when born in captivity, it increases, it seems, in some cases, it decreases in some. The most success, if you want to call it that, from Marineland in keeping belugas alive has been to bring them in at an age that are obviously not too young and not too old. When they bring these animals in too old, they're not naive enough, and also they're probably too proud to accept life in captivity. It's a great challenge. It's actually one of the saddest things I experienced was trying to, amalgamate older animals into this new reality, and knowing that by choice they've rejected it, and otherwise healthy animals just die. I've seen it
Phil,
countless times.
on that note of age, there's actually been a documentary maker in Russia interviewing the Russian capturing teams, and they have, who sell to Holler, and they have it on.
Dr. Andre.
Yeah, and they have it on film where the guys are saying, well, Holler is taking them at the right age because they have already had calves in the wild and they know what to do. And so then other aquariums are bringing the animals in too young, so they don't learn. And so that's one of the reasons why he has, quote unquote, so much success there.
Yeah, he gets them at that median age.
Yeah, right.
That is on paper most successful, right? It's a real tragedy. Guys, I want to thank you all for giving me the moment of time. I'll stay out there by all means.